My guest today is a leadership mentor with 4 decades in the trenches of corporate America. He has trained executives, managers, emerging leaders across more industries than you care to mention, and he's helping them to lead more humanly and humanely with trust, with clarity, with emotional intelligence. He's a speaker, he's a mentor, he's an author, at least 2 books that I know of, and he's going to be your guide to uncovering what great leadership really can look like. Welcome to the podcast, Leadership That Sells. And we are here because most sales teams are not really teams. They're what we call teams in parallel. They work in a kind of similar way, but just not working with each other. And most sales managers are still leading them like they've got a football team, when in reality they've got at best a group of golfers. Now that mismatch creates all kinds of pain. Poor coaching, bad pipeline meetings, burned out managers and reps who just drift along. So what we've done is we've built a lightweight reset to help your managers lead in the right way. They set clearer expectations. They build identity without the fluff. They coach people for autonomy without going hands off. And it's not training. It's when you shift your team and your leaders to a model that fits the team they've got, your performance scales a whole lot easier. Now, if that sounds like your world, you should grab the free Parallel Team Playbook at the practicalleadership.academy website. It's short, sharp, and it's made for senior people with teams of managers just like you. William Davis, thank you very much indeed for joining me.
Paul, thank you. I appreciate it.
So you've said in your book, one of the big things is that people who are leaders make the biggest mistake of basically thinking that now they've got the job, that makes them a leader. That makes them
Yes.
boss. Congratulations, you're promoted. Here's your team. Good luck.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, in many cases I've seen throughout my career, people are thrust into leadership positions that may or may not want it, right? A team is needing somebody to lead them through a project or through whatever, and we just assign somebody, and then we just leave them in that position. What I've always told my folks that have expressed leadership desires is you have to want to be a leader, because if you don't want to be a leader, you're not going to be a good leader. And when I talk about wanting to be a leader, it's a transition of mindset, and I think you hit on it a lot in the work that you do, a transition of mindset of, for me being successful, to my success is now my team's success, right? What they do, what I empower them to do, how I help them. And so it's again, to a servant leadership model that my folks are now the important aspect, not me.
There you go. That's it. Your job becomes making other people successful.
Yes.
That's it. Be all and end all is to make someone else successful. And especially, you have the typical disaster promotion, right? You're really, really good at what you do. So guess what? You're now managing a team of people who are really good at what they do. And good luck. Because if you don't burn for it, you're buggered.
Right. And Paul, I've seen in the technology world, particularly, somebody will be exceptional in their technology skills, right? And so all of a sudden they're stuck as a leader. Well, their ability to deal with people on a day-to-day basis is awful. And so you're setting them up for failure, and not just them, but you're setting the team up for failure. So again, it's do you want to be a leader? Because some people are going to come back to you and say, absolutely not. I don't want all the hassles that go with that, right? And so it's an important thing to differentiate. Do you or do you not want to be a leader? Because again, your success is immediately put into jeopardy when people do not think you're genuine in regards to your desire to be a leader and help them, right?
Because if you don't, I think, if it's not your thing, basically, if it's not your thing, and it has to be your thing, that you can see yourself making other people do well, then you're in hiding to nothing for a start. And then the business who's put you in that position is just going to spiral down the sinkhole, because they're going to lose members of your team because you suck at what you do. They're going to lose performance because you suck at what you do. And they've already, on day one, lost you. You are
Yeah,
no longer the top performer anymore.
right.
And you see, I see that in sales teams all the time. Number one seller gets promoted to leading a team of people, and all of a sudden they're no longer the number one seller. They're just an average sales manager. They're not bringing in the big deals. They're now just a cost. Oops.
And yeah, and unfortunately, oftentimes they'll go the step further and say, "Oh, well, you suck as a manager, so you're gone." Right? As opposed to
Out the
bringing
door.
them back, yeah, bringing them
Yeah,
back to what they were successful at and letting them do that job. And
totally,
let's start over and figure out who the right leader is.
totally, totally. And then again, now I know, I mean, we do similar but kind of focusedly different. I mean, I deal with a lot of sales team leadership, and for me, the sales team thing is kind of important in that the way that sellers work together isn't the way that other teams work together. So if you think about how, and my examples I have are many and varied, it's a team of priests in your local diocese might work together, or a group of teachers might work together. And the way that they work together is the same as the way a group of salespeople work together, in that they're doing similar things, not different things. They're not playing different positions in the football pitch, passing the ball from one to the other. They're playing golf or archery or an individual sport that's similar. They don't need each other. In fact, they don't want to be with each other. There's no kumbaya, huggy, huggy here. And if you, as the boss, go in and think that that's how it's going to work, you're going to be pushing people in the wrong model for a start. That's an
Well,
unlikely thing.
exactly,
Yeah.
because in the sales environment, it's a competitive nature, right? Yes, we work for the same company, but each of us have sales goals. Each of us has, metrics that we're going to meet,
Mhm.
and we want to make sure we get ours, right? And
So
not necessarily how everybody else is doing is at the top of my list of concerns.
in your book, and this is a big thing if you're selling, in your book, Building Genuine Relationships, okay, you talk about building relationships with your team, very much like a marriage, where you see somebody at their worst, but you know what they could be like at their best, what they are like at their best. They're imperfect, but you still love them. In fact, you love them for their imperfections. And you're looking at a well-functioning team that you've built, and it's going great. And if you've got any experience at all, you're waiting for it to fail. Okay?
Yeah, yeah,
Because that's what happens. They
yeah.
just break. Teams break. You've hired 10, 8, 10 people, whatever it is, leadership team of whoever's. And at some point, somebody's going to go off the rails or something's going to happen. You're going to have to start again.
Yeah.
So you've got this well-functioning relationship, and it's very visible, especially in sales. It's highly observable, it's very metricized. How would you advise people to navigate the imperfect?
Well, every team, regardless sales or otherwise, is going to, like you said, be imperfect at some point. My philosophy and what I used for 38 years was I get to know my people well enough that when they're having a bad day, when they're having a bad streak, whatever, I know them well enough to understand how am I going to help them through that, right? So that they're still successful. They come out on the other side of it good, if not better,
Mhm.
and they've not damaged their career, they've not damaged the project, they've not damaged the sales process. Um, and I don't do that if I don't know who my people are and what makes them tick. When I invest in my team as a leader, I am telling them I am all in with you. We're going to win together, we're going to lose together. My responsibility is to help you not just in the good times, but in the bad times, and help you get through to the other side and be able to continue on and possibly even accelerate your career to another level. What I've always done is I've never tried to get to know my people in an office setting
Hmm.
in such a way that I'm going to learn what makes them work. I've always done it outside of the office in an atmosphere that makes them comfortable, in a way in which they are able to loosen up something that's familiar to them. And I have some examples in my book, but one I always like because it just resonated so much with me. I had a young man came to work for me, and he probably mid 20s, great kid, funny as could be, but he was so nervous about getting fired. And so I finally just went to him and I said, "What do you like to do outside the office?" He says, "Well, I like to golf." So I said, "Okay, fine. We're going to go golf." And that 4 hours that we spent on the golf course transitioned our relationship from a boss worker bee to people that are now on the same team. He understood it. I understood, his concerns, how I needed to react to things that he did so I didn't make him paranoid, so I didn't make him concerned. Um, and it all came from, and funny or not, it came from I hit a tee shot out in the woods that they still haven't found the ball today. And he looked at me like, how's he going to react? Because some people take themselves so seriously, they, start cursing or throw the club, break the club, whatever. And I just looked at him and I said, I want you to know that is because I am trying to make you feel better about your golf game, you know. And we just started cracking up about it. And from that point on, the relationship transcended the boss worker, right? He saw that I saw him as more than just an asset, you know, as somebody that could fulfill a working obligation that I needed done, right? I looked at him as a person. I wanted to know him as a person, and we were going to have a relationship that transcended just the work environment.
So, I mean, you've got another lovely example in there that I liked as well about Sherry and her birthday.
Yeah,
That was fun. So, I mean, do you see intentional humor, intentionally trying to make things light-hearted, less serious? Do you see that as
I do.
important?
Yeah, I do because work is stressful enough without a boss that has no ability to bring a lighter atmosphere to the situation when it's needed, right?
Mm,
And if you can't do that, to your point earlier, you're going to have people walking out the door, not
mm,
just walking, running out the door because they don't want that. And particularly as work environments have changed the last 25 years, I had 3 jobs my entire career, 3 different companies. I mean, you see a lot of people today that before they're out of school 10 years or before they've started the professional career 10 years, they've had 5, 6, 7, 8 jobs,
hmm.
right? The loyalty factor is not what it used to be. Good, bad, or indifferent. I'm not going to judge that. But I have to go that extra step to ensure that my people understand you're not going to leave this job because of something I did. You're going to leave this job for some other reason, but I want you to know I'm here for you in full, right? Not just work, but other. And I understand that there's a fine line that you can't cross when dealing with people on a personal level in dealing with personal situations. But if I've got somebody that's got um, marital problems, I've got somebody that's got monetary problems, I've got somebody that's got other problems, companies have resources to help them, right? I need to be able to, one, understand what those resources are
Hmm.
and utilize that knowledge to help my people get the help that they need and again make them or take that burden off their plate, if you will.
Yeah, yeah. I think finding what actually matters for people,
Yes.
in or
Yeah.
out of work, but finding what actually matters, I think I think it's a key way of hiring people, frankly, and
Yes.
certainly a key way
Yes.
of retaining them.
Yes.
You know, when I go into a company and I'm trying to secure the high performers so they don't basically leave with all the institutional knowledge, I look for the two steps. So it's, what are you trying to do now? What's important for you right now? Okay, what do you want to do today in this job? But then it's also, what's the next steps after that? So I
Yeah.
want to secure you in what you're doing. How do we get you to the next thing and the next thing with the experiences or the education or whatever it is you need? And if you're doing that, you're kind of you're trying to show them that you actually care about them in the role that they've got, but also preparing them for the next one, the next tour of duty,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, and I think that's where we're really missing the mark, where we have, in so many situations, turned somebody's career over to them and said, "You're responsible for your career, right?
Mhm.
You need to tell me what you want to do. You need to be responsible for training and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera." And no, I, as the leader of that group, again, have invested in my team. And part of my responsibility is to ensure that they're being challenged, that they're able to progress. Some are going to progress quicker than others, but I need to make sure that I'm helping everyone do what they can to move to a different level. And one of the options that is not on the table is viewing your team as competition. Your team's not competition. Your team complements you, and their success is my success. At the end of the day, when my career was over, I looked back on, where did my people end up? And I have a lot of success stories of my team. They would pass me by during the course of our career, or they would move on to other places and have, stellar jobs and great responsibility. And I take pride in that,
Mhm.
because it didn't have anything to do with me, except that I allowed them to flex their wings in order to be able to grow. And that's my job. When I move from a manager to a leader, that's my job.
Mhm.
And it concerns me when, people ask leaders, "Well, what do you do?" Well, take me out of the role and see what happens to this team,
Mhm.
what happens to this group. I am there encouraging them. I am there picking them up. I am there helping them through the bad days that everybody's going to have, so it doesn't adversely affect them, the company, or what we're doing.
It is it's the small things that you do
Yes,
when nobody's watching.
exactly.
It's
Exactly.
the the quiet moments, the small things that you do that you're consistent about, that you're
Yes.
not public about. Is
And
there,
not only consistent about Paul, but when you say consistent, it's consistent from person to person to person. I'm going to have some people that I'm closer to,
Mhm.
but I can't treat them in such a fashion that I'm not willing to treat somebody that I'm not closer to,
Mhm.
right? In the same way.
Yeah,
Can't play favorites.
yeah. It's I think it's the correct interpretation of the golden rule, right?
Yes. Yes.
Um, so we're commanded to love your neighbor as yourself, right? Do unto
That's right.
others as they would
Doing
have,
others.
right?
That's right. Yes.
But I think if you look at it in the context, it's not treat people the way you want to be treated. It's treat people the way that they want to be treated,
Yeah.
right? And that doesn't mean treat everybody the same. That
Right.
means treat everybody equally, but in their context.
True. And of course, I have seen some people, though, that feel like they needed to be treated as the queen bee or the king of the castle, right? And it's like, no, one, you've not earned it.
Mhm.
And two, even if you had earned it, there's somebody else in that role.
Mhm.
So, but yes, to your point, I'm doing everything I can not to hold somebody back. I'm helping them progress. And at the end of the day, they're going to feel satisfied that their career path is known
Mhm.
and that they're on a good footing to reach the goals that they've got.
So there we go. There we go. Ah, this is there's a lot of there's a lot there that we can dig into, I think. And if we look perhaps at I mean, you've talked about the DNA of leadership, this sort of stuff. I don't necessarily know that it's an intrinsic. DNA speaks to it being an intrinsic characteristic, and I'm a firm believer that these are learned skills, they're learned capabilities. But if we could do the Matrix thing, plug this thing in, all of a
Mhm.
sudden I can fly a helicopter. I love that one. If you could instill this one thing in every new leader, what do you think it would be?
Well, I think the first thing is when you talk about being a new leader, you have to understand that people matter and how you treat them matters. It's going to have adverse effects or it's going to have great effects on them. I have an example of a young lady came to work for me and brilliant, brilliant girl, and she just nailed the interview. But when she came to work for me, every time I turned around, it was, is this okay? Is this okay? Is this okay? Is this? And I finally just said, okay, stop. I hired you because I trust you. I hired you because I have confidence in you and your ability. Why are you consistently coming back to me? She had had such a horrific micromanager in her initial job out of college that even to the point of approving emails that she sent,
Mhm.
he wanted that control. And I said, no, 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 no. That's not how we work here. That's not how I deal with folks. You have my complete confidence and complete trust to do the job, or you wouldn't be here, right? And so when I talk to people about being a leader, start off with always giving people the benefit of the doubt that they're there to do the best job, just like you are, and treat them with respect, treat them with kindness, and treat them as you are their biggest advocate.
Or uh, a good a good comrade. I mean,
Yes.
um, I'll put a link to the various materials, and hopefully people can find your book, the Genuine Relationships book, because I love this. I love the ancient birth certificate story. That's just quite fun.
Yeah, that was
Yeah, in
funny.
fact, you want to tell that story. It's quite fun.
Well, there was a lady that I worked with, and I mean, she and I just went back at it and forth at each other constantly, and all good fun, right? It wasn't anything mean. And so she had a birthday coming up, and so she had been zinging me pretty good, and I had not had a chance to retaliate, if you will. And so I put out a email to the team uh, as if it was an old ancient artifact article, and it was the uncovering of her birth certificate, but it was stone, and it was chiseled in stone, right? And just made it. And obviously I wasn't dumb enough to put a year on there, but the thought was there, and oh, it was a hoot. I mean, it was when I came in, everybody had read. I'd done it before I went in the office. Everybody had read it by the time I got there, and just were waiting for her to come in and read it. And oh, I didn't even have to know when she read it because everybody just kind of came to my office as she was walking down the hall, you know, headed in there. But it was all in good fun, right?
Yeah.
And we all had a laugh about it. We celebrated her birthday, and it started the whole team scheming what were they going to do to get me back, right? So it
That's
was
the
just it was
thing.
just great stuff, great stuff.
That's the thing where you can engineer something where people can come together.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah. I mean, you're the leader, but you know what? You're not any more important than anybody else.
still put your
You are
pants on
part
one
of.
leg at a time.
You bet. You're part of everybody. You know, and that's exactly right. You put on your pants one leg at a time. Exactly right.
William, where can we find you when we need you?
I have a website, williamcdavis.net. It has different keynotes that I give, different workshops that I do, the books that you have very kindly mentioned today. There are links out there also. And then there's a list of all the various podcasts that I've been able and fortunate enough to do over the last 5 months.
Marvelous. We'll make sure the links to that are in the description and the notes of this video, this podcast. And just finally, as we wrap up, then, if I was to give you 10,000 billboards and the biggest Sharpie ever, what would be the one message you'd want the world to hear from you?
We've talked a lot about technology. We've talked about other things, but the one constant in my mind that will never change is leadership is and will always be about humans. If you can't, if you cannot manage, quote unquote, manage your interaction with humans, you're going to always struggle being a leader.
And there ain't no AI is going to help you with that. No way.
No, AI is not going to help you. To your point, I don't know that it's a learned. I can teach somebody that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your ability to be sincere, your ability to practice kindness, have a generous spirit, and so forth, is either ingrained in you or it's going to feel forced.
Mm-hmm.
And if it feels forced, you're going to lose your team very quickly.
And this isn't the job for you.
Yep,
just
exactly right.
William C. Davis, thank you very much indeed for joining me.
Paul, appreciate you very much. Thank you, sir.